Anyway, we're going to have some fun at the beginning of this presentation. And I'd like to tell you that before we do, I'm going to be speaking about a couple of very sacred things. And that's the clan system and naming a child in the Crow way. And they're very, very complicated subjects. And I'm supposed to cover both of them in less than an hour. So we're going to cover the surface, and we're going to try to have fun doing them, and you'll get a little glimmer of the Crow world when I'm doing this. And one of the important things of interpretation is to try to get you to learn more. That's the art of interpretation. So when we touch on a subject and you want to learn more because it's so interesting, then I've done my job. I used to do that at the Little Bighorn all the time. You know, you can just delve into a subject for just a few minutes, because you can't take all day on a subject that should be a whole course, okay? And when I'm talking about audience participation, I'm hoping that you will have fun with it. And I'm going to ask a couple of people to come up here and be my subjects. I told that lady she would be one. I was going to draw sticks up here, you know, with little hair, and make it a man and a woman. You can just stay right here. Okay, and face the audience, and sir, can you come up? And this is how you're going to learn about the clan system. Okay, this lady is from the Crow tribe, and she is a member of the Big Lodge clan, okay? Her mother is a Big Lodge. That's how come she's a Big Lodge, because we are a matrilineal society. This man is a bad war deed. Okay, it's a bad war deed. There right now are 6 or 7 active clans in the Crow tribe.
It's on.
Can you hear me? Okay, 6 or 7 active clans within the Crow tribe. There used to be about 12 or 13, but quite a number of them are extinct now. But Big Lodge is one of the active ones, and the bad war deeds is another active one. And I'll tell you a little bit about how the clan system came about. Do you know that sculpture by a French guy, he's sitting there thinking like this?
Hold down.
That's how I imagine Old Man Coyote. He saw his people, the Crow people, the Apsáalooke, arguing all the time, fighting each other all the time, and not getting along. And like I said, I'm touching the surface here. And he thought, how am I going to help these people? And Old Man Coyote may have been God himself, the creator. He may have been just an assistant of our creator. Some people call him a jokester, and he did come to earth, and he lived among the Apsáalooke, and he created situations that were kind of comical, sad, but they were situations that the Crow people learned from, what to do and what not to do. So at the time, he decided, he looked down, I always picture him looking down at the valley and wondering, how am I going to help the Apsáalooke get along? They're not even getting along. He saw a river, and he saw driftwood going by. And he also saw these driftwood landing on the shore, and another one would come and stick with the other piece of driftwood. Pretty soon there was a whole bunch of them just kind of tangled up together. And that's when he thought of this idea. I think I will form clans in which these people will pray together and pray for one another. And like I said, it's a very, very complicated system. And that's how he formed clans. And we'll talk about what their functions are real quickly, because we're going to learn about why and how they named children of the Apsáalooke Nation. Okay, she's a Big Lodge. He's a bad wardie. There's no intermarriage. Back in the old days, you could not marry another person from the same clan. So these are not related. These people are not related in any way. And so I'm going to choose somebody to be a son. You want to come up here and be a son? He's a Big Lodge because his mother is a Big Lodge. Okay, I need another volunteer. You want to come up here? She's a daughter. She's also a Big Lodge. These two, the sister and the brother, are children of the Beadwork clan. And the Beadwork clan members are going to be their fathers and their mothers. We don't have a word for uncle or aunt. And today, in this society, we say, this is my clan aunt, and this is my clan uncle. But it should be clan father or clan mother. So, let's see. Let's have another one. Sunny, come up here. She's a member of the Beadwork, okay? Daughter, that's your clan mother. Son, this is your clan mother, okay? Now, Sunny is a graduate of Yale University. Now, we're role-playing. And she graduated summa cum laude. Very, very proud of her, these two. And so what are they going to do to honor her? They're not going to announce it in the papers. They're not going to go around saying, my daughter graduated from Yale summa cum laude. They're going to have a dinner. They're going to have a big feast. And they're going to ask Sunny to come to the dinner and pray for her, so that she will continue on this path of success. And Sunny will come and pray for her, okay? And encourage her to go on in her life in many good things, in many good ways. She will pray for her all her life. And if she messes up, let's say Sunny met a guy who was not a very good character, okay? Or no, not Sunny, but the daughter. Excuse me. Sunny would notice this because we're a small tribe and we usually kind of circulate in Billings and Sheridan. We all see each other, we know one another. Sunny sees this and she's very upset. She's kind of concerned, so she'll take her aside and say, daughter, because she's a mother, remember, a clan mother, she'll say, daughter, I'm very concerned about you, your behavior. You've been dating this man who is not a very good character. Either you should have him prayed for, or you should try to maybe see somebody else, maybe. I don't want to interfere in your life, but you're taking a wrong path. Let's pray about it. Or she'll sit down with her and have a consultation, okay? Now the son over here, he's been drinking a lot. He's not doing very well. He started partying around town and mixing with the wrong crowd and driving fast cars and running around with fast women. And so the parents are very, very concerned about him, excuse me. And so they have another dinner. And they have 4 gifts. 4 is a sacred number. And they'll ask an uncle, come on up here. You are also a member of the Beadwork clan. This is your clan father. And at the dinner, they're going to ask him to pray for him. Would you offer prayers for our son? Because he's not doing very well in his life. He's been kind of partying around and not doing very well. Would you pray for him? And he will. And after the prayers are offered for this young man, they'll give him gifts, and he will pray for him, and he will always watch out for this young man right here. And these two people will always go to him. He improved, but not that much. Here's $20. They've met him on the street. Here's $20. Would you go have a cup of coffee on me and say another prayer for our son? He'll say, yes, I've been praying for him, and I will continue to do so. And if you ever see this young man, you step him aside and tell him that you're continually praying for him. And you know, in the mind of this young man, he sees all this concern, all this love, all these prayers. And eventually he'll come about and say, I better do what my folks have told me. And he'll settle down if he's paying attention to the clan system, if he's paying attention to the clan way, and if he believes in that system, he will come about and he will be okay. In the meantime, this young daughter has gone to Yale, and she's graduated, and she got a job with, let's say, Facebook. I know they're kind of in trouble right now, but she's got a job with Facebook, and she's going to go up the ladder real fast. They really do appreciate her employment there. And so she goes to Sonny over there, and she says, Sonny, I know you've been praying for me. You're my clan mother. I've enjoyed your prayers, and here's $100. Go have dinner on me, and continue your prayers for me. Would you do that? And she'll say, of course, I will. And when I eat my meal, before I have my meal, I will pray for you. And then you will have continued good luck. I will pray for you and your whole family. And so that's the clan system, you see. And like I said, the clan system is a very, very complicated one, and it's a very sacred one too. Prayers are included. Dependence on consultation is very important in this clan system. There are those right now who are a little bit confused in the Apsáalooke nation. Christianity came into our lives a long, long time ago, and it has confused us. And a lot of people have turned to Christianity, and some of them have turned away from this clan system. They don't use it anymore. But many of us do. Some of them mix it up a little bit, like I do. I go to church in the white man's church. I go to my Sacred Tobacco Society, and I worship the Crow way. And I really, totally believe in the clan system. It has saved me. Well, I was pretty wild when I was a teenager. My mother had a lot of problems with me, and the problems continued later on in my life. One time I was standing there inside a bar, having a beer with this one cowboy. They were good looking too. My grandfather comes in, and he taps me on the shoulder and says, Mardell, what are you doing in here? This is not a good place for you. I said, I'm having a beer. And he said, have a beer, but go home afterwards. Go talk to your mom, she's worried about you. And I will be praying for you too. Go settle in a different way. Go do things in a different way. Go back to college, I know you're smart. I said, well, I dropped out. I didn't like college. He says, you better go back. I said, I'm a little bit too old now. He said, I don't care. Go back, it's never too late. And well, the years went by, and I thought about his advice, and I thought about it, and finally I thought, he's right. And of course, with age, I got a little bit of wisdom. I went back to college and got my degree. And thanks to the clan system, I think I'm a little bit of a success. My life's goal is to have everybody understand the Crow Nation. Because we're brown, because we do things in a different way, doesn't mean that you have to separate yourself from us. Our ways are really fun. Our ways are really sacred, and if you knew about them, you'd appreciate us a little bit more. Of course, we have a lot of problems, but who doesn't? And so that's the clan system in a nutshell. It's a very sacred thing among the Apsáalooke, and it's still practiced by many of us, and thank goodness for that. Okay, and as we talk about the naming of children, we're going to be going back to the clan system, okay? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
And by the way, every member of your clan is your brother and your sister. Whenever I see that young lady, because I'm a big lodge, I'll say, hi, sis. And she'll say, hi, sis. I have a big lodge sister who moved up to Canada. And she came over to say goodbye to me. She said, big sister, I came to say goodbye, I'm moving up to Canada. And I knew she had a home on the reservation. I said, keep your home. Make it look nice, rent it out to your brother or something, but keep it because that's your base. You're gonna wanna come home someday, and you'll have it. Don't let it go, don't let it sit there and rot. Keep it up and keep it a home. She said, oh, okay, and well, years went by and she came home. She said, there was my home, and I'm so glad I took my big sister's advice. So those are the kinds of things that happen within the clan system, okay? And now going to the naming of children, and we're gonna have to go a little bit fast because I know you're gonna have some questions. Excuse me, I just got over a sore throat. Don't worry, they tested me for strep and it was negative, and they tested me again for COVID and it was negative, and I've had my vaccination, so I think we're going to be okay. I've brought with me today some ground, what do they call this? What did I say? Anyway, this is what we use to smudge by, and it's called ground, I forgot.
Cedar?
What?
Cedar?
Ground cedar. This is sweet sage. And of course, this is a braided sweetgrass. And this is bare root. And they say that bare root is the highest form of smudging. And smudging is, oh my goodness. And smudging is a smoke. This is what I use. I buy it over at Buffalo Chips downtown on 24th Street. It's a charcoal. I burn it on a shell, and then when it's ready, good and ready, I put the ground cedar or the sweet sage, usually the bare root if I'm naming a child, because they say that the ground or the bare root is the highest form of prayer. But sometimes when my grandson comes in my room and says, Grandma, I'm having some nightmares. Could you smudge me? These come in all shapes. These twisted sweetgrass comes like this, and this one I just love. Sunny Day gave me one day, and I just loved it so much. I said, who made this? And she told me, and I ordered about 3 more. And I've been giving them away to my clan fathers and mothers. And this is the only one that I have left. But I will burn this, and I will pray for him. Say, Creator, bless him with sleep. Bless him so that he can go to sleep tonight and not have any nightmares. And it works. He'll go right to sleep. And one time, this white boy was visiting with us, and he said, what does that symbol represent? He said, it smells good. And then lately here I saw on TV a new show is coming. I probably won't watch it, but it's called Ghosts, and they're burning one of these, and that lady is saying, this is supposed to chase away bad spirits, and and I thought, that's sweet sage. But it's really sacred to us. It smells really good, and he said, I don't understand what the smoke means. And you know, when I'm telling my personal opinion. If you speak to another member of the Apsáalooke tribe, they'll tell you something else. We all have our personal interpretation of everything in our culture. The way I see smoke is that it connects me with another world. It connects me with a force. I remember when, what is it, that one show, not Star Wars, but Star Trek? The other one with Little Yoda in it. Star Wars. When they said that, may the force be with you. I told my kids, I said, we've been saying that for a long time. We believe that God is a force, that he's in everything, even in rocks. This force is in birds, it's in this building, it's all around you. And when the smoke goes into the air, it connects me with that force. I believe it's the Creator, he's everywhere, he knows everything. And when somebody says a prayer in the Crow tribe, they always say, to the one who knows everything sometimes. Means to the one who knows everything, who sees everything, I say this prayer, okay? So that's what this means to me, the smoke, is that it connects me with that force. And so that little boy said, oh, it's just not smoke. It's something sacred, isn't it? And he hit the nail right on the head. To me, it's very sacred. Okay, here I was going to follow this. When somebody wants to name a child, and in my family, we name a child when they're a year old. Some people, now like I said, we all do different things. We all interpret it in different ways. Some people do it right away as soon as the baby is born. In my family, we do it when we're 1 year old. We give them their official name. Or they'll sign on a birth certificate, this little baby's name is Mardell. And I was baptized a Catholic. That's because the white people want it. But I don't get my official Crow name until I'm 1 year old, and that's the way my mom and dad did it, okay? When you want to name a child, whether it's a year old, or whether it's 3 months old, or a year old, you consider the namer of your child, your precious little baby, boy or girl. You consider it very, very seriously, because that name will guide that child throughout his life. Then you prepare for a meal. And my gollies, right now, food is very, very expensive, isn't it? But you want to feed your clan father, or the veteran, or your best friend, or whoever you want to name the child the best of food. So maybe you're going to have a steak dinner for everybody. Sometimes you want to fill up a hall like this with all your relatives. Maybe you just want family, your immediate family, your mom, your dad, your grandma, and your grandpa there. Maybe there'll just be about 10 people. Maybe there'll be 50 people. But you prepare for it way ahead of time. You tell that person, my child is turning 1 year old and I want you to name him or her. And so that person will think about it, they will pray about it. Maybe they'll go into the sweat lodge, which is another very serious, sacred thing that we do on the reservation or in our culture. They'll think about it very seriously. When they told me I was to name a child one time, the first time, I've named a bunch of children by now because I'm beginning to be an old woman. But when they first asked me, it scared me because it's a various thing for me to do. I prayed and prayed and prayed about it, but nothing came to me. And I'll tell you a little bit about it later. But when it finally happened, I called the people that had me name the child and I said, I'm ready. And they said, well, we will be eating at the Baptist church and it's going to happen on Saturday morning at noon, okay? So I'll be there. And when the child is brought to me, after we eat, when the child is brought to me, I will use one of these items right here to smudge the baby I'll go over the smoke with the baby about 4 times to purify this child, to connect him with that force that we know as God. And then I name that child. And everybody says, oh, you know, if they like it, they'll go, oh, wow, this is wonderful. Or, that's pretty good, you know, but they will call that child by that name in every Crow event that they go to. Whether it's a giveaway or whether they've won a contest or something, they'll call that child by her Crow name. She won't be known as Mardell. She will be known as Baa Hinnaché, which is my name. And I'll tell you a little bit about that later. Everybody is asked to be quiet when the child is named because they all want to hear. It's a very, very serious thing. And so everybody remains quiet while the name is explained, because that name has to be explained to everybody in the room. Why did that person choose that name? Where did it come from? And you know, in the movie, I always refer to movies because I'm a movie buff. I can't help it. What's the name of it though? Like I said, I'm getting older and I can't remember things anymore. Dances with Wolves. This woman stands there and they said, what's your name? And she goes like this, her name. Eventually he finds out that it's Dance with a Fist. And I read a novel called Nobody Loves a Drunken Indian. You should read that novel, it's pretty good. It's fictional. It's about a man who drinks a lot, but eventually he saves his tribe, gets a lot of land for them. It's really good. But his name, his friend's name was Snowflake. And he got his name because he was born in the wintertime and his mother liked the snowflakes coming down. And that might be that way in other tribes, but among the Crow, it's a lot more serious than that. We don't name them after a snowflake. And we don't name them because they're standing there and going like this with their fist. We don't get it out of a hat. It's a very serious thing when you name a child. The gifts are presented after the name is explained. 4 gifts. Naming of a child. One time we were studying what kind of gifts should you give when you give away gifts. It has to be 4 things. Sometimes it could just be a $10.99 blanket from, what's the name of that place, Ross? It can be a pack of cigarettes, because tobacco is used in my culture. It could be a $20 bill. It may be a nice shirt. Whatever you think you should give this person, you give. And my mother said, you give only what you can afford. Nowadays, my goodness, they kind of overdo it. They will buy a $298 Pendleton. They'll give that person $100, and so on. I give what I can afford, but I will include a Pendleton, because Pendletons from Oregon are considered very, very nice. But 4 gifts, it's a sacred number. The 4 gifts will be given, and then the child can go home with a new name. And I'm going to talk about examples of names right now, and I'm going to use members of my family as examples because I know how they got their name and why they got that name. The first one is my son, who was named Seven Killer. In your culture, what? A killer? That's an honorable name? Yes, it is in my culture. When you choose a person to name your child, you usually go to a clan father or a clan mother, like the one that we just explained, because it's a sacred thing. And the people who, in our culture, pray for this child all the time are asked to name this child. Or you can go to a veteran of the because to us, these people are the warriors of our society now. Or you can ask your best friend if you think that best friend is good quality, a prayerful person, a person who has lived a good life. You can ask that person, and that would be acceptable. Or you can go to your grandmother, because you love your grandmother and you know that your grandmother is also a prayerful person, and you want your grandmother, who's maybe going to go on to the next life pretty soon, you want your grandmother to name your child so you can remember your grandmother that way. But it's up to you. Seven Killer was named by a veteran of the Vietnam War. He was a platoon leader, and he's gone now, so I won't say his name, but when we had the dinner, and we gave him 4 gifts, and after the smudging my child, he said, I'm going to name him Sapulpesh. And then he told us that on a mission, they were going to cross a river. They hesitated a little bit, and this was during the Vietnam War, because there was a nest of machine gun people across the river, and they wondered if they should go further up the river and then cross, or cross right here and try to fight them and beat them. He said, we shot at them several times, and he said, all my men got killed. The one that was beside him got wounded, and those guys just kept shooting at them, and eventually he killed all 7 men that were in that machine gun unit. He said, I shot 7 of my enemy, and I saved the one that was wounded in my platoon. That was a very honorable and courageous act. So he named him Seven Killer. Sapulpesh. It's a very honorable name, but in your culture, in your society, it's a killer. The killer, the term killer, just doesn't go over very well. Now I'll share another name with you. It sits with the elders. My granddaughter was going to be named, and I kept thinking, and I thought of a lady who has been in the educational field for a long time. She's very, very respectable. She's well known throughout the United States. She's had many, many honors, and she was a member of the Big Lodge. My son is a Big Lodge. And so the Big Lodges were my granddaughter's clan mothers. So I invited her clan mother to come over, and after the gifts were given, they were smudged, she told us the reason why she named her Sits with the Elders. Baa Hinnaché was her name. And she said, one time I had a dream, and she said I was on a stage, like this one. And she said there were elders sitting there, a bunch of elders. And she said there I was, sitting with them. She said, I don't know what I was doing. But you see, sitting with the wise elders on a stage to her meant something. It meant she had accomplished something in her dream. She had the right to go up there and sit with the elders who were wise and who had experienced a lot of life and had survived. So my granddaughter's name is Sits with the Elders. So that's the story behind her name. Now, a third one brings elk with song. Alachat Osh was her name. Well, it was his name. My grandson was going to be named. So we had the dinner, we had the 4 gifts, the smudging, and I had my favorite nephew come up, Cal. He's known here in Billings. He's very active. Everybody likes him. Everybody just loves him. He's a real good person. He said, one day I went hunting, and there was nothing. He said, I saw nothing. For a couple of days, the second day, I still didn't see any elk. So he said, I sat underneath a tree, a little bit of a shade, And he said, I sang a song. I kept singing this song, and pretty soon a whole herd of elk came toward me. He said, I bagged 2 of them. He said, what do you know? He said, that song was magical to me. And so he named my little grandson, brings elk with song. And that elk is understood. Another name is my own name, Baa Hinnaché, always working. My dad interpreted it as works all the time. But the name was given to me by my aunt, his sister, his biological sister. Her name was Mardell. She was very old. She was half French and half Crow. And she had had a very good life among the Apsáalooke. She said, you know, when I was just a baby, but the story was told to me. She said, when I first came among the Crow people, she said, they laughed at me because I wore a bonnet. They were from Fort Benton. They had moved from Fort Benton. And they laughed at me because I had high-top shoes. And they laughed at me because I only spoke French and I couldn't speak any Apsáalooke. They laughed at me because I had white skin and blue eyes. And my dad did too. But anyway, she said, I grew up and I married Yellowtail. And she said, by then, I was an Apsáalooke woman. I knew how to bead, I knew how to do everything that they did. And eventually, she said, my lodge was the best lodge. My beading was very, very good. And the only time you can brag about yourself is when you're naming a child. An Apsáalooke person cannot brag about herself or himself. Your clan mothers and your clan fathers do that for you. So you can't go out there and say, I've won this award, I've won that award, I've been to college, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. My aunt bragged about herself because it was her right as a namer of a child. She said, everybody knew me among the Apsáalooke as a good woman. And it took hard work, she said, because I came here as a white woman. But I was finally accepted. And she said, I named this child always working, because that's what I did. I was always working. I was a hard worker to attain that status within the Apsáalooke nation. And so that's my name, always working. You can purchase a name. I wished I'd have thought of this first. My father's mother was part French, and everybody knew her as Washington, white woman. Her name was Emma Chien, C-H-I-E-N. And years and years and years later, there was a girl born into my family, my immediate family, my niece's daughter. She looked like a white woman. She had blue eyes, she had real fair skin, and they wanted to purchase the name of white woman. And so they invited Agnes Yellowtail Deernose, and they invited Amy Whiteman to come to our camp, and they fed them. And I wondered what they were going to do. You know, they didn't tell me what the name was going to be. Then they stood up and they said, we want to buy the name of white woman. She's no longer here. She's been gone a long time. But you too are directly descended from white woman. Emma Chien. We want to purchase that name because she looks like a white woman. So they bought the name, and I thought, I wished I'd have thought of that, because my daughter was born with red hair and green eyes. So I thought, you know, I should have done that. I should have thought of that. But the name was already taken, and so it was gone. The name that I gave this last one was the name of my great aunt. I saw it in the realty papers over from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and her name was Pretty Woman Moon. And I thought, how do you say that? So we're still trying to discuss it, Pretty Woman Moon. And I started laughing because you cannot say the name of your son-in-law. people will laugh at you. And my son-in-law, his nickname is Moon. And so that name was in that name, and I know that some people are gonna laugh at me because my granddaughter's crow name is gonna be Pretty Woman Moon. They're gonna laugh at me, but it was the name of my great-great-aunt, and I think it's a really pretty name, so I don't know who I can pay for the name, but I'm gonna give it to her. So that's sort of the story of how our children get their names. That's the way we do it in my family. Sonny's family, or your family, will maybe do it differently. Crow families all differ in some of their ways, basically the same, but a little bit different in some of the ways that we do it. Now, I can't believe it, I did all that in less than an hour. Like I said, both subjects that we had today were very religious, very complicated, still a way of life with the Apsáalooke people. And